Show. What's in your cup?
You already know a whole lot of everything. The Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com. All up in this thing. I go by the name of Foz, and she is
organic blackberry. Tastes like it sounds like it tastes fresh. And she is.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Tiana Giovanna, as always. And he is
DJ Swivel. Anything less would be unswivelized. Just like this month of February, Black History Month. Also Dilla month. Shout out to Dilla. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace to Dilla Dog. You know what I mean? It's wild, man, to continue to say that. But I'm so ecstatic that he gave us so much incredible work. You know what I'm saying? Just all across the board. And I think he's almost like the true definition of an unsung hero. You know, and I'm glad that he gets this month to be able to get celebrated as all amazing artists do. Right. But him specifically because of the fact that he had so many hits in the mainstream and commercial, as well as ones that people never really knew about. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about his work with Busta Rhymes, Janet Jackson, his own stuff, The Tribe Called Quest, Slum Village. The list goes on. You know what I mean? His incredible work with Madlib. Like, he has cult classics as well as, you know, some of our favorite jams, you know. Yeah. And, you know, you think about mega producers, we hear the, you know, Dr. Dre, we hear Timbaland, Pharrell, Swiss Beats, list goes on, right? Yeah. Jay Dilla is literally in a class of his own. You know what I'm saying? And really and has the right to be as well, because he brought just a whole new thing into the world of hip hop. Like, he brought the feeling, and not to say that it wasn't there, but it was just different. And I bring this up often because my respect for him grew when I first fell in love with his music, but then when I started to understand him as a person and the way that his mind works. And I remember reading an article with the interview from Questlove, and Questlove more or less, crediting Jay Dilla for even changing the way that he plays. Because you know, when you're a musician, everything is time, right? I was listening to Michael Jackson this weekend, and it was just like, man, these are live musicians doing this. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're in time, they're in a pocket, right? Like, and it wasn't digital. Like, we hadn't got to that point yet. This was a live drummer in there playing Beat It. So when you hear that, and that beat is literally on time, it's like, yo, that is spectacular. So the musician that Questlove is brilliant. If you've ever experienced him live, one of the most amazing things that you'll see when it comes to the roots. Yeah. For him to say, yo, this producer, this guy took a beat machine and transformed the way that I play live, to say, damn, it's okay to kind of be a little bit behind the beat. You know what I'm saying? And still be in a pocket to where you're not completely off beat, but you actually have that natural flow and that natural instrumentation of just rhythm in life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, you know, it may be a little bit ahead or a little bit behind that actual mathematical stamp, but it was incredible. You know what I mean? So, and for him to be able to chop it and do that. Yeah.
For those that don't know, I'm not gonna say I don't know, but those that don't know, could you give us a timestamp, or like what, like, you know how you, like, the effect that was had, what was it before, and then what was that spice that was added? What?
Well, I would say, well, quickly touching on Foz's last point, like, as a DJ, Dilla was kind of a nightmare because it made it hard to blend two records together because his beat wasn't on a specific time, right? So, like, you're constantly having to slow a record or speed a record up in order to stay in sync or beat match with a Dilla beat. So that was always a challenge for DJs. But Brandy, to your question, like, I feel like he impacted a ton of music from late 90s to early 2000s, even before people really understood that like Dilla was behind the production. Like for me, for example, like falling in love with Tribe Called Quest, and just and the music, but not knowing like Dilla was responsible for a lot of those beats, and then learning that, and then going back and doing the research or whatever the case. But like the swing that he added to the beat, like it just, for me, it seemed like it just gave a little bit more like soul to his music, and just added like almost like another element that didn't really exist before that.
Yeah. And you if I were to compare him to other producers, if we were to like kind of categorize producers, I would put him together with the likes of a Pete Rock, DJ Premier, them, Ninth Wonder.
Okay.
Who else am I missing? It'll come when I don't think about it. But they were very, I mean, hip hop was already heavily sampled genre. But if we go through the evolution of it, right, you had the beginnings where, Sugar Hill Gang, that was, deemed like the first hip hop record, used disco, and it was literally just a loop. So you had bum dum dum da da dum 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 bum 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 ba, right? Then you have, the NWA, the Public Enemy, where they took funk samples and everything was it was a lot of organized chaos, right? Then you have this introduction of live instrumentation, and then with these samples, right? So even like I'll even throw Q-Tip in that group, right? So where they took samples and it was more, let me chop it instead of just playing a loop all the way straight through. I'll chop it up and then rearrange it, right? Yeah. What Dilla was able to do, and where he transcended that art, was he didn't just chop it and say, okay, here it is, but found little intricate parts of a sample and then repieced it out and literally played the beat machine, like the MPC, as it was an instrument. So as somebody would play the piano or the drums or saxophone, he reimagined what the beat machine actually was. He took it more than just a sequencer and said, I'm going to utilize every function of this beat machine to create something. And I'm going to take these samples and I'm going to seamlessly flow them in and out of one another. So what he would do is there would be beats where, one in particular, he didn't even use any drums or anything. He just took the sample, and there is no clean part of the sample. Like almost every part of the sample has a drum or a kick or a snare that you couldn't really chop, and there was nothing in between that to piece together. So he said, I'll take this beat, chop it up, rearrange it, and just make something with what I have, and not solely depend on another sample that gives me the freedom to be able to take all these strings and chop those up and rearrange them. Yeah. So one of my favorite beats that he has is a song by the Slum Village called the Players, right? And it's primarily because the chops that he did were so seamless, the way that he put it all together. You know what I mean? And clearly that there's chops, but it's just like, dude, what part of the sample did you cut to then rearrange and place here and be able to become an architect in your mind to piece all of this together? And it's just simply brilliant. And I find inspiration every time I hear one of his beats.
And not only like almost recomposing somebody else's music, but like with Players, for example, like it doesn't even say Players in the sample. It says Player. No, but like, when you read the song title, like your mind thinks Players, and he manipulated the tone of the sound to make it, be perceived as if it was saying Players, when in fact they're saying Claire.
Yeah,
that's fly.
Like
it reminds.
He was.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he was a true scientist. But what were you gonna say, Brandy?
I mean, I was gonna say this meme that they said about because going off of the play on with your mind and hearing shit, they said Michael Jackson. We've been saying "Mama say Mama Makusa" all this time, and he was saying, "I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop."
No,
And
it's funny, but he was actually saying "Mama say Mama Sama Makusa" because I
okay,
wanna say
cool.
it's
Because I was like,
Swahili.
"What?"
Yeah, he was actually saying Swahili. It's Swahili, if I'm not mistaken, or a language in Africa that actually says something.
Okay, cool.
I have to
Cool.
verify that because, but to your point, it's almost like a trick that your mind plays to where if you see something, you can make it say something. And
Yeah.
going back to Dilla, that's the beauty of hip hop, right? Is I'm going to take something that already exists, that already has a value, and I'm going to add either more value to it or I'm going to make it say something else, you know? And if you think about samples, like you have somebody like Diddy or Jermaine Dupri that just completely takes an instrumental and then you rap over it. And it's like this beautiful, lush, we knew the Isley Brothers between the sheets for being this sexy song, right?
Mhm.
But then here comes Biggie and it's like, I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be big. I'm going to be smooth, but it's going to be a juxtaposition to what you're accustomed to with what the Isley Brothers were singing and trying to, like I'm gonna be it's gonna be finesse. Whereas with Biggie, it's like, yo, like really truly, honey, I'm asking. Most of these players think they be macking, but they just act. Who they attracted with that line was showing that they was like, it's like, yo, I'm talking some players shit, but I'm gonna do it the way that I do. And so with Dilla and when it comes to producing and just producers in general, when you take a sample and you reimagine it or you chop it to where you make an edit to say, I'm going to take this little small section and then I'm going to loop it or I'm going to add it to this and rearrange it to make it say something totally different. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or I'm going to create a song and take a sample where they were saying Claire and I'm going to make this say Players. And ultimately, I think the backstory is it was a diss record to another Detroit group who was, it's competition or whatever, but they were, kind of like a unspoken rival of Slum Village. They ultimately said like, yo, talking this and that. So you listen to the lyrics to Players, it's that, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I just redesigned the entire value of what this means to make it mean something totally different. And
I received that.
It's an art form.
I watched man, I don't remember where I got it from, but Kanye was talking about when he said that I don't remember how he arranged the verbiage of it all, but it was more so or less like the beat sounding like a person. And he was just like, people, I guess it connects with people differently when it literally sounds like a woman or a person's actual voice. And that he said that was he recognized the power in that, and so he made a lot of his beats have that that sound as if there was somebody lingering in your ear. I don't know how to put it, but I definitely see now, like, I heard that from you and I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then like hearing how you construct things, hearing how other people construct things, you respect it. And then now when you're breaking down the whole just the genius behind Dilla, and then you start to see, oh my God, the bigger spectrum of what it affected. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting how like Dilla was able to like kind of create a sound that like initially most people thought would only work for like New York artists, but for it to
be so universal,
be more universal and crossing over to Chicago artists like Common or artists, from the West Coast or even different genres into, Erykah Badu and Janet Jackson and I was even watching a video clip recently. Shout out to Fuzzy Fantabulous and Quincy. They got a new podcast called Frequently Asked Questions, and they had Ninth Wonder on as well as Jay Dilla's mom, and Ninth Wonder was talking about how Jay Dilla, in a sense, created like, you know, this whole like neo soul type of sound or vibe, and you know is mainly responsible for that. And you know, not only creating a sound, but him inspiring guys or producers like Ninth Wonder, inspiring Kanye West, and that sort of thing. Like, so
The Infinite.
yeah, Fozzy. So, you know, that it's a shame that, and I think Ninth Wonder was even talking about how I guess Dilla had just met, no, sorry, Mr. Chalk was talking about how Dilla had just met Dr. Dre in 2004. But we lost Dilla in 2006. So they didn't even have the opportunity to see what could have come about with a Dilla and Dre collaboration, which I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like and
ridiculous.
And we can't, and obviously that we've just been talking about the production side of things, right? And we can't even forget to mention how nice Dilla was lyrically, and
yeah,
being up there as far as one of the top producers on the mic, you know. So
absolutely.
Sorry, she's taking over, y'all.
Is there any favorites of ours that would be some mind-blowing knowledge for those of us that don't know? I don't know who they are, but you know.
Mind-blowing knowledge in what regard?
Like you said, you say he was nice lyrically, so I'm like, oh, okay. Like writing, do you write for people, or he has his own? I don't.
Oh, his own lyrics. I don't know if he like written for anybody else, possibly.
Okay.
But you know, him lyrically, his own lyrics and his own, you know, rapping style, like, you know, like Foz mentioned, you know, he did a whole album with Madlib, and like any beat that Madlib produced, Jay Dilla was rapping over, and then any beat Dilla produced, Madlib was rapping over, and they got it's called Champions. They got a whole, I think that was like 2003 or 4, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess
Happy Black History Month, everybody.
Happy Dilla Month.
Yeah.
Happy Dilla Month, Black History Life.
Should we? I guess it's only right we get into some Dilla music, shall we?
Exactly.
Absolutely, definitely need to. I don't, and there's not even enough time in the world to really experience everything that is right. So we'll just give you a fraction, and hopefully you are inspired to go and experience everything that is Dilla. And yeah, we are the Kickback Show. You are welcome. DJ Swivel in the mix. Snitch!
I see you in a lonely place. How can you be so blind?
Yo! The Kickback Show. What's in your cup?
Oh my God, why that last post you said, I said it with a whisper. He was like, call the ambulance. I said it with a whisper. Like, why would I read it read it with a whisper.
Bro, I've been fucking crying, bro.
Hilarious.
Like, even when I posted it, I was dying off of the original guy that said it. When he got I had to go back and watch the video. I don't know if y'all remember, but it was these guys on a bus, black guy and a white guy, they arguing or whatever. And the white guy eventually was like, you know what, whatever, gets up, walks towards the front of the bus. It was like, you know, he was talking like his tribe, he was talking his shit. And it was a big white boy too. The black dude was like, you know, was barking loud, but clearly you could tell he didn't really want no smoke. So, you know, white boy back in it, you know, like, yeah, like, you know, I'm gonna get out of here before, you know, I'll beat your ass. I like to see you try, blah, blah, blah. Say, bark. White boy goes up to the front. Black dude comes up there, he's still talking trash or whatever. And then like the white boy is like, touch him, like, bro, I want to see you try. Like you're not gonna, I don't know what you think this is, but you ain't about to, you ain't about to do shit to me. Black dude talking this trash, he walking back towards the back of the bus. He was like, whatever, I'll kick. He was like, and the white boy was like, I'm paraphrasing, he was like, man, I'll smack the shit out of you. Black dude walked back up to the front of the bus and was like, what? And you could tell by people's body language when they really want smoke, right? Or if they don't. I could tell this black dude really didn't want no problems because he held on to the pole of the bus when he swung his punch and hit the white dude like in the chest or whatever, right?
Okay. White
dude got up and that white boy laid some holy sanctified hands on this black dude.
Wow.
You hear black, I could tell the black lady that was on the bus went to church. She was like, oh my Lord. y'all stop it. Oh Jesus. Black dude getting his ass beat, blood everywhere, and he was still trying to bark. And the white dude was like, man, I told you stop fucking with me. Get off the bus. Black dude walked to the back, sit back down, leaking, and the girl that was filming was like, oh damn, he leaking. He was like, are you good? He was like, yeah, nah, call the ambulance. Bring the ambulance.
No!
Bring the ambulance. Bring the ambulance.
No.
Yeah, no, bring the ambulance.
The ambulance.
So,
Crazy.
Wow.
bring the ambulance. The internet has given us some jewels and gems. You know what I'm saying? So,
did you see the video?
Welcome.
You see the video? I think Jay Biz posted the other day of the dude that like was like physically attacking the girl like in an apartment, and then some other guy comes out the back room like, "Hey man, I'm trying to record back here. 1, 2, you putting your hands on a lady? Like, don't do that." And the first guy was like, "Man, quit all that talking. Like, you ain't gonna do nothing." And the guy's like, "Oh, for real?" Like. And he's like, how dare you put a hands on a female? And then, bah, like, shot him like right in the thigh.
Oh. Yeah.
I seen that, and I was, and the whole message that Jay Biz was putting out was more or less like this is, this is why. Ultimately, what I took from it was him saying, Black men need to stand up for Black women.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? And not to say that it doesn't exist, because we've seen, it just it's not normalized.
Yeah.
I guess that's the point. And I think under his caption, Jay Biz was more or less saying like, this is why, Black women, why women need older brothers, to just, men to look out for them. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't even know, clearly that dude wasn't her brother. Because I know how I would respond in that circumstance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I've been in that situation where I haven't physically seen it in person, but just hearing a word that somebody was putting their hands on my sister. It's like, somebody got to go. Yeah.
And he's like, nah, man, you got to keep that, your own personal whatever, like at your house. Like, don't bring it over here.
Right.
Or don't. But then, it quickly went from that to, don't put your hands on a female at all, period.
Right.
And to Jay Biz's point was like, it's not necessarily, well, I mean, it's obviously, Black men standing up to protect Black women, but just men standing up to protect women in general when you see something that's wrong. And
right.
That dude wasted no time to put that other guy in check, like in a real way.
Check. Yeah, that brother, he gonna need some rehab. I know that. And it was so many different things that were wrong with that video.
Yeah.
The fact that, one, and this isn't necessarily to demonize anybody, but let's call bullshit when we see it. One, you see this happening and your first instinct is to pull up a video to record this dude putting his hands on a woman versus intervening. Right? Then you had somebody else,
another person in the background, just sitting there completely
swinging his feet.
Yeah.
His feet just kicking, just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you not And it's just like, all right, well, that's none of my business, right? And you clearly hear this woman, you know, saying like, yo, get your hands, like, what are you doing? Like, you tripping. And although the dude that, you know, clearly intervened it was more or less his initial approach was, bro, we trying to record. And to what you just pointed out, it was like, yo, keep that in your own, like, don't bring that over here because
Right.
we're trying to get a job done, you know? And then where it started to escalate was the disrespect that he showed towards him.
Yeah.
Not necessarily initially the woman. It was, oh, you disrespecting me. I'm not one to play with. I'll pop you for disrespecting me. And that's problematic because, again, it's like, we shouldn't have to see this on video. Your instinct shouldn't be that. Your instinct should be to say, hey, man, like, look, despite what it is, even, you know, she's doing something that you like, you have to show restraint. Like, there's other ways that don't involve physicality. You know what I'm saying? Or even verbally. Like, there's a multitude of ways to abuse somebody. It could be, you know, emotional, verbal, physical, whatever the case may be. You have to be aware of how to engage in a dispute, and it doesn't have to deal with violence, you know what I mean, of any sort. But yeah, man,
but if violence is needed,
listen,
exercise your rights.
Listen.
And he was, I don't know if you saw it, Foz, but he was very smart to at least look like he was aiming for below the kneecap, to me. Because he kept it. He kept his arm fully extended down low, and it looked like he struck the guy, but it looked like he was going low specifically. Like, hey man, it's a warning shot. Pow.
Right. And depending on where you at, you know what I'm saying? Like, clearly, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't. I've been watching Better Call Saul, so I feel like I'm mastering lawyerisms. But I mean, I know that in certain cases, depending on where you shoot, if it's like not necessarily in any type of vital or anything that could be fatal, you know, you're clearly, and then you can make an argument that he was acting in self-defense. You know what I'm saying? So he was very, very intelligent with his choices. You feel me?
It would be nice if cops adhered to that whole injure
that part
instead of absolutely murder. But you know, one thing at a time.
But you know, I'm glad that you mentioned that. There's I hate that I forget her name. I'm gonna try to look it up as I'm saying this, but she is a wonderful, intelligent, beautiful spirit that has a show, and it's framed as like a comedy show, but it's almost like almost like a late night show. As I look for her name, but she brought up a really good point. She was basically saying like, yeah, there should be a White History Month, and she started talking about kind of making it satirical in a sense of, you know, we hear about Black history and you give us the same old stories, but when it comes to this white history, we don't get the full context outside of what is given to us in the history books, which is very distorted. And she started breaking down all of the facts to say, you know, the Confederacy, once they lost, the women formed this, you know, little coalition to try to push this agenda, but
Confederacy.
The Daughters of the Confederacy, to push this agenda to make sure that their side of the story was told in the history books. And they were in cahoots with the publishing and had to basically get ran. They got so powerful, it had to run through them even before it made it to the schools and all of that, right?
Yep.
And she broke down how, say her name again?
Samantha Bee?
I cannot
deny. Woman?
She's Black.
Oh,
it's
okay.
a Black woman.
Not Samantha Bee then.
She's a Black woman.
I think she did a story on the Daughters of the Confederacy. Same kind of shtick. She's got it's a late night show. She talks about a lot of these kinds of very controversial things. It's a comedy.
Mommy.
Yeah. And I'm upset that I'm forgetting this queen's name. Again, hopefully I'll get it before we conclude. But she broke down, kind of to your point, how the policing system stems from that. Like it, Confederate Army, all of that, the police, the KKK, they're all in that same family. You know what I mean? It's all pretty much the same members, essentially. You know what I mean? And so, but you're absolutely right. Like if the police could get reformed to the point to where they're not thinking to kill citizens, which clearly this year has already shown us that they can show restraint.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and to that point, I was watching a snippet from AJ Plus on YouTube earlier, and they were talking about how like the Oath Keepers were one of the big organizations. Like they're right in that same vein with like Proud Boys and Boogaloo Boys and stuff. Yeah. And
Pansy Boys, get it right.
Basically. And so she was talking about how 2/3 of the people in their ranks are either military or police officers. And that's where they get their name, the Oath Keepers, talking about the military oath that they take when they enter into the military to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Foreign and domestic.
So they're talking about that specific part of it. And she was saying not only are 2/3 of their members military or police officers, 10% of them are active military. So the other, she didn't give a statistic on how many of them are still currently police officers, but yeah, and they were amongst those that were storming the Capitol. Like they were one of those groups that were like in droves. And then, she goes back and talks about, it was funny. She was like, seems like a racist system, like system racism. Like it's like a system. She's like systemic racism. Oh snap! Like
that's funny.
So yeah, I think her name is Frances Fiorini. She's really cool. She it was just posted on YouTube a couple days ago. If you wanted to look at it, it's on AJ Plus. But yeah.
Mom.
Yeah.
It's important. It's important to know that and be educated, and hopefully everybody is educating themselves on what's what. This year, okay, her name is Amber Ruffin.
Okay.
Amber Ruffin. She So it's called the Amber Ruffin Show. It's on Peacock. And she brings a lot of things into perspective. And that was one of them.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Shout out to the Black women that's changing the world.
Yo, we're all on our journey.
Each and every one of us. You know what I mean?
Still working towards my million this year. It's gonna happen.
As you should.
It will.
And it will happen. I was just about to say that. It will happen.
For sure. I just
I'm
hired a marketing specialist to help me.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
as you should.
Another Black woman.
That's what I mean. Like,
So,
if you go to the salon, you had a beautician do your hair. They they wash it with the shit they supposed to wash it with. They style it. They do it. They do their thing. So if you're not someone who just scales businesses, hell yeah, you need to get you somebody.
And not only that, outside of the Kickback show, and y'all know, and our listeners probably have maybe peeped this too, I'm not big on social media. I'm not like posting regularly like I should be. And it's bad because if I'm trying to do these like journals or the guided journals that I'm trying to do for Black women, I have to put myself out there. And she was like, yo, like you can't, this isn't, you can't do that. Like you have to actually like promote.
Well, they need to
like,
see your content. They need to see your content, but it's not in a sense of like you have to be out there. You just need the exposure. So yes, you do need to post regularly, but the people that's for you is for you, and they gonna see you and they gonna gravitate and put money in it when it is. Like
exactly.
I'm super turned up. That's why I'm like keeping it calm, because I just feel like going hard on everything. So I'm just gonna keep it cool.
That's me. I'm developing it. I'm working on it. Guidance for Grown Folks, the series is coming soon. So yeah.
That's the stuff. If I want to go. Yeah.
I was just gonna say you're absolutely right, and you preaching the word, and that's something that I've, in the same vein as Tiana had to come to terms with, that I need to expose what I do. You know what I mean? I need to produce content and show people You know, I can't like, and clearly we're in a new age to where, you know, we don't have the liberty right now to go out and audition for things. You know, now we have the opportunity to have things come to us, you know, and go viral. But a lot of that is going viral is, hey, here's this comedian, this actor that's been putting things out or putting things together. Much respect and love to Nick Cannon too, primarily because he's, you know, when he was doing Wild 'N Out, a lot of the comedians and rappers that he had on the show came from the internet, whether they be battle rappers like Charlie Clips, Hitman Holla, Conceited, Dumbfounded, right? Or even the comedians like DC Young Fly, Emmanuel Hudson, like they were all on the internet and just were doing them. And again, we're producing that content to allow the work and all of that to come to them. Carlos Miller, you know, list goes on. So, yeah. What were we gonna say? I'm sorry.
I totally shifted. Oh, well, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna slide past it because I know that I'm super turned up, but I gotta get it out. Fuck the police. We should be able to have our own fucking armed security teams in our own fucking neighborhood. So I'm gonna slide past that. I totally shifted my whole I feel like my purpose is totally shifted. So I recognize that, I'm not interested in what my purpose is. Doesn't have anything to do with social media. So now it's like, oh, damn, I feel so much better. Like I don't even want to do this shit. So it's like, what's for you is for you. And they literally, when you put it in the ethers, what it is that you want, what it is that you do, they literally, your tribe will come.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that too. But I mean, I need to make it a point because like my chick, her name's Latila. Shout out to Latila. She was telling me, like, she's like, no, you need to tell your story. Like, just be you. Just tell your story. Just say what you want to say. Put it on a video and like post it somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, huh? I probably should do that. I should probably.
And then you already know.
Like self-promotion person. I'll promote the hell out of somebody else. I'll be like, look, this is what you need to do. You need to go see. Like, but for me, I'm like, oh yeah, I did a thing.
I like how. Oh, go ahead, Brandy.
Well, I was just gonna say you should have one big session, just getting all your shit out, all the bomb shit you ever did, everything everything you encompass, and then chop it up in little. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a space where you don't feel like you want to do that, it gives you too much anxiety to keep doing little videos, do one big long one. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some outfit changes in it and then chop it up.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I'll need to do it one day when Imani's at grandma's house because I can't get nothing done with her here. If it has anything to do with technology and she's around, it's not getting done.
Yep.
So that's a good idea. Thank you for that.
I like how Brandy made the perfect segue as far as this being Dilla month and her mentioning F the police. So I think it might be only fitting that we get into that record. She's got the whole menace to society. I see the shirt. Yeah.
Yep.
Easy Tupac in there, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into some music, shall we?
Let's do that. It is the Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com, all up in this thing. Happy Dilla month, ladies and gentlemen, and you're welcome. DJ Swivel in the mix. Bitch!
The views expressed on this recording are solely those of the artist, and by no means do we encourage or condone violence against law officials.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yo! The Kickback Show. What's in your cup?
Happy birthday, Bob Marley, yesterday. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. February 6th.
Season.
But I have a question for y'all. And I'm trying my hardest not to let that motherfucking fire fly through the shit. But what is it when people have an agenda, an underlined agenda, but they want to throw some other shit to get your attention because they know that that's going to get your attention, but they don't want to hit you with the underlined, the real shit. Like, what the... Calm down, B. What are you like? I don't want to break my phone in half. Like, what are you even? What is this? Shit? I can't say it without saying it.
Ego.
That's what that is. Like, I don't.
It's ego. and it's driven. It's ego. It's people's ego. I mean, clearly there's different variables, and we can break it down, and it'll take forever. But it stems from ego. It's people trying to fill a void to get attention, right? My theory is as children, we get traumatized. Well, one, birth is a traumatizing thing, right? You go from being connected to your mother to most people, the traditional manner, at least in Western civilization, you get pulled out of your mother, you get disconnected, they chop the umbilical cord. Now you're here to breathe on your own and you have to operate on your own, right? But in that second trauma wave comes in the form of you're being told that you're cute, everything is lovable, right? And then next thing you know, you have to learn how to shit on your own. You know what I mean? You're not as cute when you're dancing around. You know what I'm saying? Like you're now everything that used to be cute all of a sudden isn't cute anymore. And granted, for us having a concept of time, we know that that's like it goes from maybe, you know, when a child is 6 months to the point to where they're 3 or 4. But for a child, they don't have time. Time isn't a thing for them. You know what I'm saying? Like they're present and in the moment. And so as you get older, again, that's a trauma that sticks with you. And so you know that can develop into abandonment issues or whatever the case may be. And depending on your environment, it can develop into a very narcissistic, which I don't think a lot of people address or acknowledge themselves as being narcissists, right? To where you want the attention on yourself. You want to be seen. You want to be fulfilled or fill a void. And they find the way that I can do that is by incorporating bullshit. So if you think, going back to the, you know, using a child as an example, you know, when a child starts to act out, a lot of that is, I need to be seen. Look at me. This is the only way that I can communicate is by crying, is by yelling, is by whatever. Because then the parent at that point, the parent's main objective becomes, how can I get my child to stop crying? Okay, what do you need? Right? So fast forward, if you have a person, an individual that is on the lines of, I want to be seen by this person. I need to be heard. I need to fill a void. I see them succeeding and it's not me. I'm not happy within myself. So let me disturb their peace.
Yeah.
It goes back to, for me, it goes back to the breakdown. You're trying to fill a void. You've never addressed traumas. Like there's something in your life that hasn't been resolved. And so you're trying to do everything else. Now, for somebody like yourself that may be on the receiving end of that, you could take it as a test. What am I supposed to learn?
That's what I've been taking it at. On God in heaven, I've been wanting to pop on everything and everybody. And I'm like, obviously I haven't worked through that. That's why this test keeps on triggering me.
And the thing is maybe you have, and maybe it's, you know, granted there's a high level of shadow work that goes into it. And needless to say, if you've made it through, so you've learned something from the first time it happens, but life is cyclical. So
right.
These things are going to constantly come up, and it's not necessarily saying, hey, you haven't learned anything yet, as much as it is, here's another level that you're getting ready to embark upon. Let's revisit this to sharpen this aspect of life.
Ooh, okay.
And we're going to constantly sharpen you have to be well-rounded. You know what I mean? Let's sharpen your patience. Let's sharpen your tenacity. Let's sharpen your determination. Let's sharpen your organization skills. Let's sharpen your communication, right? And so when you get these tests, it's ultimately that. And it's up to us as individuals to be tapped in to see, okay, what is the best way to handle this situation? How can I communicate? Because granted, you can't communicate with everybody the same way. Sometimes people need that aggression. Sometimes people may need passive aggression. You know what I mean? And you may only excel in the passive aggressive versus being more assertive with what you're looking for. You know, and so that's what I have. My contributions to life.
Dynamic duo. Lay it on me.
I mean, I don't know what else we can add to that. Like,
it's your perspective in
Sorry,
your words. You are also this, and this is your field, and I want to hear your perception.
well, I mean,
Perspective.
I'm not gonna go as deep to like the childhood aspect of it, but I feel like here's the thing. Touching on what Foz said, it does harken back to that, but it's a manipulation tactic.
Mm.
So, yeah, as a child, you're like, look at me, I need your attention. But as an adult, it's, I know that this is the way that I can get this attention. And it's like the old bait and switch. So at that point, when you're dealing with children, yeah, you entertain that because there is a genuine need there. But as an adult, it's not to be entertained because all you're doing is playing into the manipulation tactics. And once you play into that, then you've shown that person who's trying to manipulate you that works.
Yeah. And that's
And it feeds their ego.
Yeah, that's something that children learn, especially children who have parents that where the parents didn't really discipline them or like put them in check. Like if they're they're acting out in public or in a public store or something, like those kids learned how to manipulate their parents, right? So then as they got older, they used some of those same types of tactics on other teenagers or other adults. And so yeah, like it's both in a sense. Like it's learned behavior as kids, and they just carry it all the way over to their adulthood.
So
I'm going to reach my goal or get my fix by any means necessary, regardless of taking the other person that you are manipulating into consideration. Like you don't care about their feelings.
So now I get where they're coming from now. So I can dim down the fire a little bit on that end. Now on my end, I have twofold. I have one where I did pop off and one where I didn't. The one where I did, I felt bad after the fact, but I meant every single word that I said. And the other one where I didn't, I appreciate the way I handled it, but I'm irritated that it came to me. And I spoke to someone and they said, no energy is bad energy. Yeah. You got to get it out. Even if you cuss somebody out, you do this, that energy had to leave you. Otherwise it would become destructive inside. Exactly. So then my fire side been like, okay, cool. Well, let's cuss these niggas out. But it's like, wait a minute. Hold on. So I'm like, so it's like, has he, okay, I'm recognizing, receiving what he's saying in the sense of, it could be something that I need to sharpen that space, because I'm like, I know I've graduated past this. Why is this presenting itself again?
Well, for just touching on what Foz said in terms of like it boils down to communication as far as your end is concerned, like learning how to communicate with in a different way based on whoever you're interacting with. And like that's one thing that I've had to learn as a coach. Like I can say one thing to one person, but if I say it the same way to another athlete, that athlete won't hear or interpret the same way because of their learning and their upbringing and all these other factors. So you in a sense kind of have to sort of learn how to master who you're talking to and how they receive whatever your it is. Message. Yeah, receive your message. And
I'm about to cut a lot of motherfuckers out because I'm not about to spend all that energy on y'all.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. And that's, as I feel like for me personally, as I've gotten older, like I've gotten to that point where like I'll just stop investing so much time and energy into certain people because like, yo, they're either never gonna get it or they will never actually try to get it. And so, okay, if you're not even gonna try to hear what I'm saying, I'm just gonna cut you out because why spend the time and energy? It also
goes back to like boundary setting, right? If someone is presenting you with something that as the bait, and then they switch it up on you, then that comes down to you setting boundaries to let them know, like, that's not how you get to me. And because again, if you don't hold people to account, whether you cuss them out, whether you come at them politely and let them know that they overstepped and they were out of pocket, like that depends, that's how you react. But at the end of the day, it's boundary setting. So, you know, you go back to that old adage, you can't control what people do to you or how they treat you, but you sure as hell can control how you react. And a lot of how you react dictates how they will treat you moving forward. Sometimes someone needs to get cussed out because that's the only way they'll receive that message.
Yep.
Other times, someone needs to be sat down and talked to like they're 6. Other times, someone just needs to be like cut off because they're a toxic relationship and they're not going to learn what your boundaries are. They're not going to adhere to your boundaries regardless.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of what it comes down to. You cussing one person out and then being more diplomatic with another person is neither here nor there. That may have needed to be the response that you needed to have in that moment with that particular person for them to feel like, whoa, let me step back because I've overstepped Brandy's boundaries.
Right.
And I know not to go there again. But it really lies on you to decide who deserves what consequence for overstepping the boundaries and trying to manipulate you in the first place.
Okay, I'm big on accountability, so I'm gonna put it back on me and recognize that I didn't set up my boundaries properly. So I'm gonna revisit that.
But still, like those boundaries are negotiable, right? Sometimes some person, you'll allow one person to do something. Like for instance, I have a best friend who's a guy. I will never allow him to come up to me and kiss me on my lips. Or to even really like kissing me on the cheek or hugging me or embracing me a certain way. We know what those boundaries are. But with a girlfriend, if one of my girlfriend comes up and gives me a hug and like kisses me on the cheek, that's a different boundary.
Right. So I'm saying I didn't set up those boundaries properly with these people. I'm not saying I don't know how to do boundaries. I'm just saying it wasn't set up properly with these people because they're coming at me like where I'm like, who the fuck? What do I have on my face that looks like this?
But also to add on to what Tiana is saying too, it constantly evolves. So where you may have allowed them access to certain parts of you, right? Maybe there was a level of transparency that was given. That old cliche of, you know, you give somebody an inch, they try to take a foot.
Yeah.
You give them a foot, they try to take a mile. So you may have set the boundary, or there may have been boundaries set. They're just trying to push those boundaries to see how much more can I get away with? If I'm able to do this, maybe this person will let me do that. Oh, they let me do that too? Let me go further. Oh, well, now I can just do whatever. And so it's not necessarily, again, not to say that you didn't set boundaries, but you'll have to constantly evolve with whatever the moment is to let the person know, like, all right, look, I know that we're cool and this, but when this happens, it makes me feel this way. I don't like feeling this way. Let's avoid that if we want to maintain the integrity of our relationship, whatever it may be, whether it's professional, emotional, physical, whatever the case may be. It's like, let's just make sure that we don't cross these lines, because the most constant thing in life is change. So you may feel one thing today, and it may completely change 3 days from now. It may completely change by tonight.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so it's a matter of growth, recognizing that growth and recognizing I may feel different. Just know that this is my bottom line. This is where I stand. This is how I don't want to feel. And these actions make me feel this way.
Yeah.
So what about if you're in a, go ahead, T, because
we got
no. So yeah, go ahead, B.
Okay. Well, I just want to know, what about if you recognize, okay, cool, I get that I didn't set that boundary up, you set it up right, but you still are on some, get the out of here because you tried me on a level where I don't respect you, I can't even look at you the same. So is that normal as well, or are you supposed to speak your truth and allow that boundary, allow it to, you know, whatever, you just...
I think that's up to you depending on what you want your relationship with that person to be moving forward. Is that someone that you still want in your space?
Okay.
Yeah,
and if it is someone that you still want in your space, at that point, you need to, you know, sit down, have that very uncomfortable but mature conversation with them and say, look, you did X, Y, and Z. I wasn't feeling it. here's why. Yeah, we can be cool, but if you cross that line again, we not cool no more.
And anybody that really loves you and appreciates you and values your relationship, they will say, my apologies, and will communicate and adhere to whatever those standards and boundaries are.
Yeah.
If not,
They
you
not
have my phone number.
on your face anyway.
Yeah, if they don't apologize and you know, after you kind of said, hey, like you've crossed the line, then you know, if there's no remorse because of that, like
Then they're toxic and they don't need to be in his face.
and you know they can be dealt with accordingly. like we mentioned with that dude, you know.
Trick or Tai Chi never fails.
So, Brandy, at the end of the day, I think it's kind of up to you as far as how you sort of like restructure your boundaries, and if you want to give the opportunity for anyone who's crossed those boundaries, like to a chance at forgiveness, and if they don't, then
What it is.
cut them out or yeah.
You need to cut it.
Exactly.
And I think the most important thing too is as long as you're staying true to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like stay true to yourself. Give yourself that grace and understanding that, again, your feelings may change towards things. So what may have been acceptable for you yesterday, you might have had a change of hearts the next day. You know what I mean? And give yourself that grace and mercy, and then proceed from there. You know what I mean? And just deal with every moment as a unique moment.
Receive.
And just know that whatever your decision is, there's an effect. You know what I mean? So whatever you decide, whether it is you choose peace or you choose violence, there's something that comes behind that. You know what I mean? And so, and again, we've had this conversation. I'm not necessarily one that's going to tell you not to pop off on somebody. Just know that if you do, depending on what the circumstances is, there's something that's going to follow behind that. Whether that's, burning a bridge or destroying a relationship or whatever. You know what I mean? So I feel as though, again, part of why I preface it with be true to yourself. If you feel as though, okay, this is the energy that I need to match, let me do this. Just know that, okay, this, will I be able to salvage this relationship? Will I still be able to communicate?
I received that. I think that I've been having a lot of turmoil inside. It's because I've been feeling like I'm silently beefing with somebody, so that means I'm projecting this out into the ether. So like I feel like everybody is receiving, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just pushing that out. So I didn't want to go that route, but I recognize that I receive it all, guys. It's gonna take me a little bit to unpack.
You got this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you acknowledging that. And it's all about growth. And that's the key thing is you got it. It is a process. It's usually one that the normal average mind will get discouraged from. But if you go into it knowing, okay, look, this is something I need to work at, and you ask yourself throughout this process, how can I continue to grow? What am I supposed to learn? And then what is my game plan moving forward with a relationship or even within myself? I think that's the whole point in life. How can I grow, and then how can I help others? So.
And with that said, Kickback University, ladies and gentlemen.
They got that.
I stay woke. Yeah. You're welcome.
As we always do. Hit y'all with some gems.
Brandy.
That's what it's all.
Yeah,
that's the gift that.
And with that,
it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Keeps on giving. Just make sure that if you're gonna give that gift and you gotta do what you gotta do, you call the ambulance.
Call the ambulance.
Bring the ambulance. Bring the ambulance.
When you really put it on someone, make sure they call the ambulance.
Call the ambulance.
Oh, if they catch the blenders, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, Hey, before we close out, I do have to let y'all know I'm gonna start randomly texting the group chat because I be living life and I be wanting to tell people it's a regular Tuesday when they be giving me these certain things, compliments at work. But like I can't, they not gonna get it. So I'm just gonna randomly be texting y'all when I want to tell somebody that. Cause I be feeling that some people be saying certain things and it'll get you and I'll just be like, yeah, this shit is normal. But like they don't, I just wanna, it's regular Tuesday.
It's regular. It's regular. It's just regular. It's a regular Tuesday.
We'll know what time it is.
Tuesday.
Exactly.
We'll know what time it is.
All right, y'all. It's the Kickback Show, thekickbackshow.com. We appreciate you for everything. Look us up on social media. Tiana Giovanna across the board on everything. And she is
Organic Blackberry. Tastes like it sound like it tastes. Follow me on the Kickback Show. And he is
Wave Cap Johnny. You already know. And he is
DJ Swivel on Twitter, Swivel on Instagram, SWIVLL. And that'll do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Happy Dilla month. Happy Black History Month. Deuces.
Don't miss a beat.
Peace.